Hi mini makers, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we're making this super cute turkey just in time for Thanksgiving. This is your mini maker box number 9, and it's October of 2024. So let's get started. All right, so let's see what we have. We have our wood pieces, and we have some white sponges. You're going to have a brush. You have some wood glue, and then you have your paint. So remember, you can use your box to paint on top of, like a table cover, but make sure your table is covered. Otherwise, you're gonna want some baby wipes, okay? Or a paper towel that is slightly damp. And then I'm just gonna take all of my stuff out of the box and use my table because it's covered. Won't need those. And I'm gonna open all right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a baby wipe, and I'm going to open my brown paint, and I'm just going to wrap that baby wipe around my fingers and dip it into my brown paint. And I'm gonna paint my turkey head. And, oops. Now I'm just rubbing that baby wipe around my turkey. Now, I don't care if I get his feathers up there because he's got a piece that goes over top of that. I'm trying to make it look even, that brown paint look even. All right, and that's it there. And we're just gonna set our little turkey body aside because that's it. We're not gonna do any more painting on that. And then we are going to paint his feet and his beak. I'm gonna paint the beak yellow. Now, yellow covers kind of hard. So I'm going to paint it white first, okay? So just a little teeny bit of white. Just a very thin coat. And I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do his eyeballs. Because they're white, we're just gonna go ahead and paint those white. And oh, we've got his feet. Now his feet I'm gonna paint orange, but I'm gonna paint him white first because the orange will cover much better if we paint him white first. So just a thin coat of white. Okay, so we're just gonna set those aside and let them dry for a minute. And we're gonna come over to our other pieces here. Let's break out our red paint, and we're gonna do, cut all of our wedges in half here. We're gonna do his waddle. We're gonna paint that red. Gonna need 2 coats, but we're just gonna set it aside for a second. And then we need to paint his feathers, and I like my turkey feathers to be really colorful. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna paint some colorful turkey feathers. Now I'm just gonna swipe my paint here to the center. Just like that. I'm gonna do the same thing with this feather. Like that. I'm gonna do this one yellow. And you can see I'm just coming right over top of my red there. Just like that. And we're gonna get another sponge. And we're gonna do green. And then we're gonna use orange for our last color here in his feathers. All right, so let's get some second coats going here. We'll come in and give our yellow a second coat. And we'll let that dry for a second, but while we have our while we're waiting for that to dry, let's get some of our other stuff colored. So the hair on the top of his head is going to be yellow and orange, so I really should have put a white foundation on that real quick. So let's just do that. Okay. We're going to come, we're going to give our wattle a second coat, and that should be it for our wattle. And then let's do his feet. Now his feet are gonna be orange. And they'll probably need 2 coats, but it will cover really good because we put that white coat on first. And give both of his feet a coat of orange. And then this is his beak. His beak is gonna get a coat of yellow. Look how nice that yellow covers because you put a white foundation underneath it. And then let's give his eyeballs another coat of the white. And then let's go to his little hair. We're gonna do his hair. We're gonna do his hair a bunch of stuff, but let's start with yellow. It's the hair on the top of his head, and I don't know, it's probably supposed to be brown, but I like my turkey colorful, so we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna do some fun stuff with that. Okay, so now let's come back here and let's give our orange another coat. You can see I don't care too much about where my colors come together in the feathers. We'll blend that in a minute here. Right now I just want to get a second coat on them. And then let's do our red. Where's our red sponge? And then our green. So that's how that looks. Look at that. We didn't really care too much about our color right there, and it turned out great. We just kind of swiped that paint in there and didn't worry. And it looks fantastic. So now remember, like, your turkey's gonna cover a lot of it, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Let's set that aside for a minute. I can show you some other things you can do to that to do a little bit different look to the feathers if you want to. And of course you don't have to. You can paint at whatever level you want to paint at. All right, I'm putting a second coat on his beak. And while that coat is still wet, I'm going to grab a little bit of orange on that yellow sponge. I'm using that same yellow sponge, and a little bit of red. So I just went right over top of each other. And I'm gonna pounce it onto my table just kind of to blend it in together. And then I'm gonna come around the outside edge of my beak here and just put some of that paint on. Okay, and then I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna pounce off the majority of that paint on my sponge to get rid of it. You can use a napkin to pounce it off, or your pizza box. And then I'm gonna come and I'm just gonna start blending. Just blend, you're just pouncing with really light amount of paint. Just like that. Do you see how that's blending in there? So I'm gonna grab just a little bit more yellow. And then I'm gonna come back over top of the whole thing and just pounce, 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 pounce. And see what happened there? Can you see that? So the outside edges have a little bit of an orangey red color to them. But we blended it all together because we took more of the dominant yellow and we put it over top of the wet paint and we pounced it until it blended together. It's subtle, but it makes a pretty big difference. All right, we're gonna come back to our feet and we're gonna put another coat of orange on the feet. Okay, so now I'm kind of going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my orange sponge and I'm going to dip it in a little bit of red. Just a little teeny bit of red. I'm going to pounce it onto my table to blend it into the sponge, and then I'm going to come around my feet, just around the outside edges. Might have to grab a little bit more of the red. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And then I'm going to grab a little more orange on my sponge, pounce it on the table, and then I'm going to come in and pounce right over top of that red. Right over top of the red along the edges. And then that's what you get. So you get some darker, like orangey red outside edges to your feet, but the center is the orange. Same sponge, grabbing a little bit of red, pouncing it in, coming around the outside edges of my turkey foot. You see, I'm not neat with it. Not neat at all. It's kind of messy. Okay. Now I'm going to grab some orange, pounce it in, and then I'm going to just come and pounce along those outside edges. Got to do it while it's wet though. Can't let it sit for too long because it will dry too much. And there you go. So now you have 2 feet with the outside edges, a little bit of like a reddish orange color. All right, we're gonna let that dry. And now we're going to come back over to this is the hair for the top of his head. Now we're gonna use our brush for this part. So I painted yellow, but now I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna dip it into some orange paint, and I'm just gonna do some like wispy strands. And then I'm gonna grab some brown and do some brown strands. I didn't even rinse my brush off. Yeah, let's put a little red in there too. And then I'm gonna rinse my brush. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna grab some yellow. And there's the top of his top of his head. So little feathers on the top of his head. Okay, now you're ready. Once everything's dry, you're ready to glue. So let's just clean up our paint. All right, I'm gonna put let's put your feathers in front of you, and then your turkey body goes right on top of them, and it sits flush to the bottom of the feathers and in the middle of the back feather, okay? So the neck should be in the middle of the back feather. just like that. So you're gonna take your wood glue and you're going to run a line of wood glue around and up to the neck. You don't need to go into the head area, okay? So just take your wood glue and squeeze a bit out, just like that. Remember, you don't need to do the head. And then you're gonna put it down. In the middle of the feather. And then you're gonna make sure that the bottom edge of the turkey lines up with the bottom edge of the feathers. You should be able to hold your fingers against it and they line up. And then you're gonna press it down and you're gonna let it dry. Now everything's gonna take a little while to dry. So you're gonna do the same thing with the nose and put some glue on the back of the nose, or it's not the nose, it's the beak. And then you're gonna glue it right over top of that score line that shows you where it goes. So and glue your nose down or your beak down right into place. And then you're gonna take your feathers, your little hair at the top, put some glue on the back of that and glue that down as well. Now this is another one of those pieces. Just line the edges up with your fingers to make sure that they feel flush. You're gonna take his eyes, put a dot of glue in the middle of the eyes, and you're gonna glue those right up there. Take the wattle. Now the wattle only needs a little dot of glue at the top. The wattle just needs that little dot of glue, like right there. And you're gonna glue the wattle to his beak, just like that. And then you're gonna glue his feet on. Now you can decide where you wanna put his feet. You wanna put his feet close together, far apart. You wanna tip them sideways. Now the turkey will stand up better if the feet are flush to the bottom. So you don't want them hanging off like that because it won't sit up very well. So put the feet up so it's all flush. But you can spread them out or you can keep them together. I think I'm gonna spread mine out just a little bit. And there's his other foot. Whoops. Okay. Now remember, your glue takes a little while to dry. All right, so now we got a couple finishing touches we can do. He needs some eyeballs, right? So we're gonna take our brush and we're gonna use the wrong end. So we're gonna use this end, the end with no bristles. And we're gonna poke it into the black paint. So there's a little dot of paint on the end of it. And then we're just gonna push that dot of paint into the round score mark that's on your eye already. You'll see there's a little circle drawn with our laser. And we're just gonna put the black paint on the eyes just like that. All right, now the last thing you can do is you can draw some lines on your feathers. I'm going to use my brush to do that, and I'm gonna use my brown paint. I'm just gonna stick my brush into my brown paint, and I'm gonna come over to my feather. I'm not gonna do my orange because I already put my foot on there, and it's hard to see. But you're just gonna draw a line straight up the middle, like that. And then some lines coming off from that center line, just like this. See that? Pretty easy, right? We're gonna do the same thing on this one. We should have done this before we put our feet on. I didn't think about it. And then on this guy, just have to draw him coming off of the turkey neck because that center one will be covered up by the turkey neck. And then I'm gonna try to make it look like I did the orange. So see, even when you make mistakes, you can cover it up. And everybody makes mistakes. All right, so there's our turkey. How cute is that, you guys? That is adorable. I hope you had fun making this, and we'll see y'all again next month. Oh, 2 months from now. So this one is September, right? No, October? October. We'll see you for Christmas, December. All right, guys, take care.